The next thing which you have to learn is the gradient or slope. First, the definition of a slope, the concept of a slope. Slope means angle with x-axis, or angle of line. So angle of graph line with x-axis, that is called a slope or a gradient. Then there is a way to calculate that, but first thing is you should understand the slope. So basically for a graph, it can be positive x-axis and negative x-axis and positive y-axis and negative y-axis. But we will always take the positive one because we are discussing mainly in physics. So we take a positive axis. So x-axis is there and y-axis. So what does it mean? That concept of a slope. Slope means angle which the line is making with x-axis. So this angle is refers to slope. Now, because the slope of a graph may be zero, what are the possibilities? Slope might be zero, slope might be constant, slope might be increasing, or slope might be decreasing. These are the only possibilities. Slope of a line might be zero, slope of a line might be constant, means the angle is not changing. Slope of line may increase, and slope of the line may decrease. So from the shape of the graph, you can identify what happened to the slope of the line. Example, if you take this example, slope means angle with x-axis. So if this is the x-axis example, if this angle, this angle was 45. If I draw x-axis, any point I will draw a horizontal line. What will be this angle? This angle is also 45. So 2 points, the angle is same. If the angle is not changing, what we call that the slope of this line is constant. So slope is constant here. Is it clear? Slope means the angle with x-axis. So any point I can take, whenever I draw an x-axis at any point, I will get a constant answer, I will get a fixed answer, which is 45. It's not necessary 45. 45 is the number I'm taking, it can be 30, but all the angles will be same. So if the angle with x-axis is not changing at any point, what we call that the slope is constant or slope is not changing. So for a straight line graph, for a graph which the line is straight, exactly straight, the slope always remain constant or slope does not change. This is for a graph, for a straight line graph. Take the screenshot. Later you can copy this from the video, or you can take the picture and later copy. Then if you have another type of a graph, x-axis and y-axis, slope can be constant, it can be zero, it can be increasing or decreasing. These are the only possibilities. And you have a graph line is horizontal, exactly horizontal. What about slope of this line? Is it making any angle with x-axis?
No.
No. So whenever the line is parallel to x-axis, the slope is equals to 0. Because it is not making any angle with x-axis. So when parallel line to x-axis, the slope is 0. So even I draw a line on the x-axis, even I draw the line on the x-axis, what will be the slope of this line? Both lines have a slope 0 because both of the lines are parallel to x-axis. So whenever there is a horizontal line, the slope is equals to 0 or the gradient is equals to 0. Another type of a graph if it's a curve, x-axis, y-axis, and it's a curve. Can you identify the slope? It's constant, increasing, decreasing, or 0. The slope means
Increasing.
yeah. So here, how we identify slope is increasing. Slope means angle with x-axis. Look, if I take this angle and I draw another x-axis, it's better. Like for your understanding, you can draw. I draw another x-axis, and if you check this angle, and I draw another x-axis, and this angle. So when I check angle A with angle B and angle B with angle C, what happened to the angles? The angles are increasing. So whenever there's a curve and angles are increasing, what does it mean? It means the slope is increasing. So for a graph which the angle is increasing, it means the slope is increasing. Because the concept of a slope is an angle with x-axis. Or it can be like this. So what happened to slope? Slope means angle with x-axis. So when you find the slope, you take this angle first, say angle A, yeah, and you take angle B, and you take angle C. So what you will find, you find that the angle is decreasing. If the angle is decreasing, it shows that the slope is decreasing. So slope of a graph may be constant. It might increase, it might decrease, or it might be 0. So the first one I showed, when it's a straight line, it's a constant. The second one, it's a horizontal line, 0. The third one, slope is increasing and the slope is decreasing. Then there can be another type of a graph in which the slope might increase or decrease or constant. What about slope of this line? Slope. Slope means angle with x-axis.
Constant.
Constant. Why it is constant? Because when I draw the x-axis, When I draw the x-axis at any point, all the angles will be same. The angle A, angle B, and angle C all will be same. And one more difference you can see here, if a graph was starting, if the graph is starting from the origin, from this lower value, we measure the angle from x-axis to the line. Means, but if a graph is starting, means the angle above the x-axis. But if a graph is starting from a higher value, then we measure the angle below the x-axis. So x-axis and this angle we measure. So we can find that the slope is constant. So basic idea, whenever there's a straight line, the slope is constant or slope is not changing. Another slope increase or decrease depending on the quantity or a type of a graph. First thing, we are discussing the shapes of the graph. So you may have different types of graph. Like example, if your graph is a straight line, it means the slope is constant. Angles are constant. If your graph is a horizontal line, it means the slope is zero. If your graph is starting from smaller value and the values are increasing and the angle is also increasing, it means that the slope is increasing. I did not write any quantities here. X and Y can be any quantities. But the thing is, what you have to understand is the shape of the graph. From the shape of the graph, you should be identify that what is happening to the slope. So either you can memorize or you can understand, but better I prefer you understand so that you can apply your understanding to any type of graph. Same way, if another graph is there, yes?
Can you repeat the last graph?
Yeah, for the last graph, when you check here, it's a straight line. It's a straight line, and we want to identify whether a slope is increasing, decreasing, zero. So what we will do, you can just draw a horizontal line and use your protractor and you can measure this angle. Use a protractor and measure this angle. Example, this angle will be 30. Then you will draw another horizontal line and use a protractor and measure this angle. Again, you will find that this angle is 30. So if the angle is not changing, if angle is constant, it means the slope is constant. So slope, the term slope means angle with the x-axis. So if you can just use a ruler, draw a horizontal line, then use your protractor and place it on the line and measure the angle. If the two angles are same, it means the angle is not changing, so slope is not changing, because the term slope means angle with x-axis. Same way, if it was like this, if it is like this, can you identify what happened to slope? So how to identify? What I will do, I will draw the horizontal line. This is first horizontal line, this is second horizontal line, and this one is third horizontal. And what angles I will measure? I will measure this angle A, angle B, angle C. So what you observe about the angles? Angles are increasing, decreasing. What happened to angles? What about these angles? Increasing, decreasing, or remain same?
Decreasing?
Increasing. So if these angles are increasing, it means the slope is increasing. So basically the slope means the angle with a x-axis. And the last one, if it was a graph starting with a maximum value, but now if you measure and find the slope, you will draw the horizontal lines. So when you draw the horizontal lines and measure these angles, angle A with angle B with angle C, so what you will observe the angles are decreasing. So whenever the angles decrease, the slope will decrease. So these are the graphs. I will repeat again. Look, we started with the concept of a slope. What is slope? Slope means the angle which the line is making with x-axis, that we call the slope. If the angle is constant, if the angle is not changing with x-axis, it means the slope is constant. If angle is like if it's not making any angle, or if the line is parallel, it means the slope is 0. If we measure the angles and the angles are increasing, it means the slope is increasing. If the angles are decreasing, it means the slope is also decreasing. So basically the concept of a slope is the angle with x-axis. So angle which the line is making with x-axis are simply refers to slope of a graph. But how to calculate a slope or a gradient? So if you want to calculate a gradient or a slope, so first thing, for a straight line, how we can calculate the slope? If I say you have x-axis and y-axis, the formula to calculate the gradient or a slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That is the formula we will use to calculate the gradient. So if it's a straight line, x and y axis are there, and the question is find the gradient of this line. So how you'll find the gradient of this line? You will take any 2 points on the line, for more accurate answer, the distance should between the point should be more than 5 centimeter. So what you will do, you will take any 2 points on the line, and for more accurate answer, the distance between the 2 points should be 5 centimeter. So what we will do, we'll take any 2 points, it's up to you. Like example, I take this as first point and this one as second point. The value of the x-axis, the first The first value of x-axis is called x1 and the second value on the x-axis is called x2. So this one is x1. It will be number because the graph will have the numbers. So where it lie, that is called x1. And this will be x2. Same thing, the point on y-axis, the first value on y-axis is called y1 and the second value on y-axis is known as y2. So this will be y1 and this will be y2. And you will use the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Like these will be numbers. Example, this was 3, this is 7, this one is 2, and this one is 8. So what I will do, I will use the formula y2 minus y1. So y2 is what? 8. y1 is how much? 2. Divided by x2 minus x1. So x2 is equals to 7 and x1 is equals to 3. So 8 minus 2 is equals to 4 and 7 minus 3 is equals to 4 as well. So we'll just simplify and here gradient is coming out 1. So whenever there's a straight line graph, what you will do, you will take any 2 points on the line. For more accurate answer, the distance between the points should be more than 5 centimeter. Yeah, sorry, 8 minus 2 is 6. By mistake, I wrote 4. So is equals to 1.5. Is it clear? If there's a straight line, you will take any 2 points. First point on x-axis called x1, the second point on x-axis called x2. The first point on y-axis is y1 and the second point on y-axis equals to y2. And you will use the formula and find the gradient. This is if you have a straight line graph. But what if you have a curve? Take a screenshot, then I'll explain if there was a curve. These things you will study in maths as well, but you will find a very common questions in paper 6 of physics. So that's why you should understand the concept of gradient or the slope. Example, if it was a curve, and you have to find the gradient. Say numbers are written like 1, this was an example, any quantity, say speed is there, and you have time. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, this is 16, 18, and 20. And this was a graph. Can you identify what happened to slope, increasing or decreasing? For this graph, slope is
Increasing.
Slope is decreasing because the angle with x-axis decreasing, so slope is decreasing. And for a curves, they will specify a point. So example, if a question is find the gradient when time is 8 seconds. So you have to find a gradient when the time is equals to 8 seconds. So what you will do, first you will mark a point where the time is equals to. So the steps are mark the point where you want to find gradient and draw a tangent through that point. Length of the tangent should be more than 5 centimeter for accurate answer. So in this question, we have to find a gradient when time is equals to 4. So first what I will do, I will draw a line. First I will mark a point where time is equals to 8. So where the time is equals to 8, I will mark that point on the graph. So I marked first that a point where the time is equals to 8. Then I will draw a tangent. What is a tangent? Basically, tangent is a line which touches that one point only. A line which touches the curved surface at only one point. That line is called a tangent. So what I will do, I will draw a tangent. The length of the tangent is up to you. So I should draw a line which touches that point only. And this length of tangent, it's up to you. You can draw a longer tangent, you can draw a shorter tangent. But for more accuracy, the length of a tangent should be more than 5 centimeter. Equal to 5 centimeter is also correct. But for more accuracy, it should be more than 5 centimeter. So first we mark a point where time is equals to 8. And after that point, we draw a tangent. Tangent is a line which touches that point only. And then the first value on x-axis is called x1. The second value of the tangent on x-axis is called x2. The first value on y-axis is called y1. And the second value on y-axis is called y2. So, and we'll use the formula gradient is equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So in this example, this one is x1. This is x1, the first point on x-axis. The second point on x-axis is x2. The first point on y-axis example is y1. And the second point on y-axis, it's called y2. And we'll substitute. So gradient will be y2 minus y1. So it will be 5 minus 2, which is equals to 3 divided by 14 minus 2, which is equals to 12. So this will be 3 divided by 12, which is equals to 1 by 4 or 0.25. So gradient in this example is 0.25. So this is how we find the gradient of from the curve. If a graph line is curved, they will specify a point, and from that point you will find the gradient. So if the question was find a gradient when time is equals to 10 seconds, so if the question is find a gradient when time is equals to 10 seconds, so in that question, in that point, you will mark the point where time is equals to 10 and you will draw a tangent at 10. Any doubt in how to calculate the gradient? So if it's a straight line, formula is same, but straight line, take any 2 points and find the gradient. But if it's a curve, then for a curve, you have to take one point where you're finding a gradient. Why? Because different points, there's a different gradient. And normally it is specified in the question that which point you're finding a gradient. So quickly I will repeat, like, because the slopes are very important thing. You can take a screenshot, then I will give some questions so that you can solve and identify the slope. You don't have to send this to a group, just I mention the answers. I will give some examples and you have to just mention whether slope is increasing, decreasing, zero or constant. Identify the slope of this for A. What is the slope of this?
0.
0.
Zero. Yeah, it does. It's a horizontal line, so it means the slope is 0. Same thing. If it's on the origin, what about slope of this line? If it's on the origin, what is the slope of this line? That's also 0. So horizontal lines, the slope is always 0. What about slope of this line? Slope means angle with x-axis. The angle. So to understand, just draw the horizontal line on your graph and you can identify the angles. What happened to slope? So just draw the horizontal line and measure the angle of with horizontal line and the graph line. Yeah, what happened to slope? Increasing, decreasing, 0 or constant? So in this example, you can see here, the angle is decreasing. So if the angle is decreasing, it shows that the slope is decreasing. In short, I'm writing DEC, which means decrease. Same way, you may have a graph. What happened to slope of this line? Slope means angle with x-axis.
Increasing.
Increasing or decreasing. So you draw the line, horizontal line. And measure the angle. So this was a first angle, angle A. This is a second angle, angle B. And this is a third angle, angle C. So what happened to the angles? Angles with x-axis, they are increasing or decreasing?
Increasing.
So if the angles are decreasing, so it shows that the slope is also decreasing. Because the term slope means angle with x-axis.
Sir,
Yes?
How the slope is decreasing? I'm sorry. Can you explain again?
Look, what you will do, you will draw, if you are like not able to identify by looking at the figure. So what you can do, you can draw the horizontal lines on the graph. Like this was a graph and the question is identify the slope. So how you'll identify the slope, you will draw the horizontal lines, okay? Equally spaced horizontal line you can draw and measure the angle of the graph line with these horizontal lines. This is the first angle, this is the second angle, and this is the third angle. When you measure this angle, you can identify that this angle is getting smaller. Here the angle, it was much steeper as compared to the last angle. So if the angles are decreasing, because in the beginning I mentioned the term slope means angle. If the slope is decreasing, it means if the angle is decreasing, it means the slope will also decrease. Is it clear? The value of
Yes.
the y-axis is increasing, but the slope does not mean value of y-axis. Slope means angle with x-axis. Same way, if the graph is like this. So what you will do, the best way to understand the concept of slope, draw the horizontal lines. For your understanding, just draw the equally spaced horizontal lines on your graph. So when you measure this angle A with the angle B with angle C, what you observe about the angles? Increasing or decreasing?
Increasing.
Increasing.
Yeah, so if the angles are increasing, it means the slope is also increasing. And same way, it can be like this. Look, why you're studying these slopes? Because in physics, you will have a different types of graphs. Different types of graphs, the slope having a like certain meaning. Like if you have a speed time graph, if you have a distance time graph, slope means speed. If you have a speed time graph, slope means acceleration. If you have a force and acceleration graph, slope means mass of an object. So actually in physics, the slope of different quantities, the graph between the two quantities, the slope will give you another quantity. So if you identify the nature of the slope, you can identify what happened to the quantity. So here also the slope is increasing. Like I just give an example, you will learn this next time in detail. Example, if a graph was given between distance and time, and the question is identify what happened to speed. If the graph is between distance and time, and in the question they're asking for speed. But how you can find or how you know about speed, actually for a distance time graph, slope means speed. So what happened to slope here? What happened to slope?
It's increasing.
It's increasing. So if a slope is increasing, it means the speed is also increasing. Yeah, we'll discuss only the end at this session, like point regarding the slope.